It is a masterpiece. Don't go see it. Do not go see it. You will be scarred.
Welcome to Groovy Movies. My name's Lily Austin.
And my name's James Brailsford. Hello.
Hello. And this week on the podcast, it's been another tough week for the Hollywood studios, but is it all flops? We'll look at the box office and also discuss baby girl actor Harris Dickinson's directorial debut, Urchin.
And we'll also be discussing the latest developments in the world of James Bond.
Yes, but first, on Saturday, the news was confirmed that Diane Keaton had died at the age of 79. We're recording this on Sunday, so at this point there are no more details about what was the cause, but it was certainly a shock. I have to say, I was pretty devastated. I did well up. I think out of all of the actors who have kind of been mainstays in Hollywood over the last 50 years, she's the one that I think means the most to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we wanted to pay tribute to her. I mean, I think when you think of Diane Keaton, of course, you think of Annie Hall.
Oh, God, what a dumb thing to say, right? I mean, you say it, you play well, and then right away I have to say you play well. Oh, God, Annie. Well, oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that to me is, when I think of her, it's an iconic performance. It's the film I've seen of hers the most, I would say.
Yeah, me too. And obviously it's a film that has sort of been reappraised because it was directed and written by Woody Allen. So it's kind of gone through a bit of a journey, I think, in like sort of cultural memory. But for me, that is one of those films that despite that, it still has like such an important place in my heart because, yes, I think it's the film of hers I've watched the most. And I watched that, I think I was perhaps 14, maybe younger, maybe a bit older when I first watched it. But just her, it's a gorgeous film, but her character in particular, it was kind of everything I thought was like charming and wonderful and wanted to be, honestly, because she had this incredible style. Her androgynous look, wearing men's shirts and hats and trousers and ties, whilst being, you know, to look at her across the street, you'd think, wow, that's the coolest, chicest woman who must have so much confidence to dress like that. And she really pulls it off. But then the minute she opens her mouth, she's this awkward, self-deprecating, self-effacing, very funny, very silly, just completely charming and charismatic person. And that character was absolutely written for her and is completely based on her. I mean, she's very kind of humbly said that, oh, this was Woody Allen wrote a kind of more delightful, more charming version of me. But it seems clear that no, this was just her. And I mean, in fact, even, you know, Annie Hall is Diane Keaton. Diane Keaton's real surname is Hall, and all of her friends used to call her Annie. So it is her. This is a film that is her on screen, and it's just so delightful.
And of course, she won an Oscar in that role.
Yes. Yeah, she did. And again, seeing her on social media, there have been clips of her taking to the stage winning her Oscar. And I just love seeing her in this like shirt and skirt and jacket as if she's just kind of going out for a walk on a Saturday. You know, it's very different to the uber glamorous dresses that you see on the red carpet today.
Well, I mean, I spent a little of last night just doing a bit of research, but I actually stumbled across an interesting nugget on my Instagram stories. I must confess, not the best research source, but I have backed it up, and I had no idea that Diane Keaton also has done a little bit of directing, not much, but one thing she directed was an episode of Twin Peaks, season 2, episode 15 of Twin Peaks. So, and apparently David Lynch was so impressed, well, not apparently, David Lynch was so impressed by it, but he went on record saying how great he thought the episode was. There's some press clippings where he's singling it out, saying that it's a very stylized episode. I'm currently rewatching Twin Peaks. I'm about episode 7, so I'm looking forward to catching up with that one.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. And, you know, after watching Annie Hall and then promptly becoming obsessed with her dressing like her, I have to say, definitely taking some style cues from her. I read her memoir that I think it came out in 2011. So I was at university when I read it. And this book is like, it was so so good. Like, I strongly recommend it if you have any interest in her at all, and you know, interested in like reading a memoir. I'd really recommend it because her voice is clear in it. It's got her own kind of unique quirk to it and sense of humor, and also that what I mentioned, that kind of self-deprecating, slightly vulnerable aspect of her personality, which I think, you know, I was thinking about it, I think probably the thing that made her so charming and so beloved in Hollywood, because, you know, she is someone that just captivated everyone she met. I mean, she met Al Pacino and he just completely fell for her, and so she was cast in The Godfather basically because Francis Ford Coppola was like, oh, well, clearly you guys have chemistry, so it would make sense for you to be a couple in this film. And then she went on to meet Warren Beatty, who also fell for her and cast her in Reds, and they had this kind of on-off again relationship, because, I mean, what other kind of relationship can you have with Warren Beatty, obviously?
With Warren Beatty, I was going to say.
And Woody Allen as well, you know, she was cast in one of his plays, Play It Again, Sam, and that was kind of her first real big break. She was nominated for a Tony in that play. And then he found her so intelligent and witty and funny that he then went on to cast her in many films. They worked together a number of times throughout the 70s. And, you know, he even said that I really don't laugh easily. You can't make me laugh. You can even tell, like, when do you ever see him laugh, even in his comedies? But when he does laugh, he's gone. And she was one of the few people that could get him completely on the floor in hysterics. Can't shoot any more of this scene because he's just done. He's like, he's bent over, wow. He's corpsing, it's over. And so I think she just had this like amazing, very special kind of charisma, and it really comes through in her memoirs. Is that a roundabout way of saying this? But I have to say, what I remember from that is her kind of honesty and vulnerability about her struggles and her insecurities navigating Hollywood. And she must have talked about her directing, but I have to say I'd completely forgotten that. And it just really shows you, like, she was such an artist. You know, she did photography, she sang as well as acting. She did all these things, but she was someone who really didn't she wasn't trying to brand herself. She wasn't trying to push herself. She wasn't like forcing, she wasn't like a huge like marketer of herself. She just did what she wanted to do. She tried different things. She was an artist, really.
I mean, it sounds like the ideal way to run a career in the industry, really, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah.
And I get the impression, I haven't read the book, but just the impression I get is that not many people have a bad thing to say about her. You can't really, she seems to be beloved by everybody in the industry.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it's evident as well in her career, because she started working in the 70s and has worked consistently, up until she was, I think, in a film last year. And very few women actors get that opportunity, which obviously doesn't speak well of Hollywood, but I think it really does show in such a tough landscape. For her, people just enjoyed having her about and recognized her talent. I mean, I've got to shout out The First Wives Club that came out in 1996, and it's like the most neurotic version of Diane Keaton, I would say, and possibly the funniest after Annie Hall. I mean, that film, it's like, again, also a very special place in my heart. The Holy Trinity of her with Bette Midler and Goldie Hawn. It's just fantastic. And at Christmas, I always watch The Family Stone, where she plays this kind of tough matriarch of this New England family. And she's just, it's great seeing her in a slightly like sharper role. She really embodies that perfectly.
Okay, if I had to pick one of those to watch, which one do you recommend for me to go first?
I mean, we have to say Annie Hall, right? I think that is the quintessential film. So you have to watch that. But out of these other ones, for me, it's got to be First Wives Club. It's just fantastic. So, I mean,
and what a lineup with Bette Midler and Goldie Hawn. Okay,
yeah, seriously. And I mean, what a fantastic concept. No, a film about women getting together and kind of fighting against their terrible husbands after they've been left for younger women. It's just perfect. And so quintessentially 90s, the best of the 90s, It makes me nostalgic for a simpler time when all we had to worry about was our terrible ex-husbands.
Such simpler times, and how much we could take them to the cleaners for.
Absolutely. So yeah, she had an incredible career, and that's something to definitely be thankful for. But I have to say, I am very sad, and I'm going to miss knowing that she may be on my screen in a new film soon.
Yeah, but at least we have her decades of work to appreciate, which is that's the thing about being a film star, isn't it? Is that you will always be remembered by somebody at some point in time.
It's true. And also her fantastic memoirs, because she actually has, I think she has 3 books published in total. So,
okay.
Guys, I recommend it. Do a deep dive, put on a tie. You know, I have to say, I do always have a bit of a Keaton influence in my dress, I'd say, for the most part. But I did actually, for one Halloween, go full on Annie Hall. I wore a tie and a waistcoat and men's trousers and a hat to a party. And I kid you not, I've never had more attention from men in my life. Everyone was obsessed with what I was wearing. It really showed, you know, because all the other girls were in like cute, sexy dresses. And actually, people love it when you're doing something a bit different, a bit unique. You know, it shows confidence, and I think that
we want to see this picture. The audience demands it.
Honestly, I tried to. I was like, I know there's a picture of me. I scrolled through my Facebook last night, James, because I wanted to show you, but I couldn't for the life of me find it. But that's the thing. I think honestly that in itself is testament to what was so special about Diane Keaton, was that she had this authenticity. It's a word that is used a lot, but she had this authenticity, this like very, very clear sense of style, sense of self that was completely unique. And that was combined with this kind of self-effacing, self-deprecating humor. Combined, it just made the most kind of charming combination, you know, so much confidence, but also so much kind of vulnerability that just charmed everyone in Hollywood, everyone who watched her on her films, and made her completely special.
I mean, a classic movie star from Hollywood.
And don't tell me what to do, and don't tell me what to say. And when I go out with you, don't put me on display.
Pretty good. You remember.
You don't own me. Don't try to change me in any way. You don't own me. Don't tie me down, 'cause I'll never stay. I don't tell you what to say.
So, last week we had a pre-recorded episode, so we didn't really talk about new releases. So we wanted to kind of do a whistle-stop tour through the last couple of weeks. What's been happening? Because it's been another tough week, I would say, for Hollywood, right, James?
Yeah. Unfortunately, what's been happening is not many films been making money at the box office. Essentially, it's been a bit of a floppy period. You know. The story that's been bubbling in the background is that Superman, which has been out quite a few months now, still hasn't broken even, if reports to be believed. So you know, it's getting there, but it's you know, it's certainly not hit break even. But then what's out right now is a new Tron film, Tron Ares, which you know, I've got a long history with the Tron franchise. I mean, have you seen any of them, Lily?
Can you guess?
I can't imagine you have. I'm going to go with the firm no, absolutely not. No.
But I hear that the original is incredible and worth a watch. Oh, is it not?
Well,
no?
Well, here's the thing, right? I went to see it as a kid in 1982 at the cinema. So I was 5 years old, and I found it a bit boring then. And when you rewatch it as an adult, it looks great. It's got a Wendy Carlos synth soundtrack, you know, electronic music pioneer, who also did the soundtrack for The Shining and stuff like that. So there's a lot to admire visually and sonically, and it was innovative. It was the first film to make any real use of CGI in the film itself, which was like a technical, pushing the boundaries of what you could do with computer graphics at the time. So there's all that, but I'll be honest with you, the story's not that great, and it gets a little dull towards the end. So I would say in the things that I was a big fan of, this was more in like a B to C category. As in, I liked it, but it wasn't up there with Doctor Who. It wasn't up there with the other films that I liked, Indiana Jones, Star Wars. Okay.
And as far as I'm aware, the Tron sequel that came out a number of years ago.
In 2011, Tron Legacy.
Right. Now that soundtrack was...
Daft Punk.
That was it, Daft Punk. So, and now this new one has been... The soundtrack has been made by...
Nine Inch Nails.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Mind went black on all that music. Okay, so obviously this is Tron's thing, right? Is to get interesting people to make the music. So at least you've got a good soundtrack.
Absolutely. That's one element of it for sure. I would actually go further than that and say Tron's thing is like it's cutting edge visuals with like the latest in where electronic music's at the time. And so for me, and Tron Legacy has the same problem as the original Tron. Tron Legacy was created because, they were desperate to start their own franchise, and this was before they bought Star Wars. They're like, what have we got that Disney owns? Tron, let's push it out. But what you remember is the original Tron was a flop. It flopped at the box office. So again, you got to question the choices, but the reason for it being was that this was the era of 3D films. Avatar 1 had come out, so Disney wanted to make a 3D film. So the reason for Tron, the second one existing, was it was this cutting edge, 3-dimensional. We shot it in 3D. It's like a showcase. Daft Punk took 2 years off their own schedule. They didn't do any other music just to make the music for Tron Legacy. So, there was a lot of kind of like, this is why it's happening. This Tron Ares film, why is it happening? What's the new technical innovation? What are they doing that's something special? Like, is it new CG? Not really. CG's been around for years. Is it 3D? Well, been there, done that. So what's the reason for it to exist? And unfortunately, the reason for it to exist is Disney's getting desperate, is that Star Wars doesn't make money. Marvel isn't making money. In fact, just a little fact here, right, is that there was an untitled Marvel film scheduled for 2027, and that's been pulled and replaced by Simpsons 2, a Simpsons movie. So they are pulling Marvel films from the schedule, and they're swapping. They're desperate. Like these are desperate times. Like, who's asking for a Simpsons movie 20 years after the last one? It's going to flop. So they're desperate at the moment. And so Tron Ares was their attempt to right, let's try another franchise. Let's give Tron another go.
I mean, it sounds to me like it's a case of this is IP that no one wanted to see used again. Like it was a flop originally. I think there's
flop a second time.
Yeah, we definitely have this is where things are getting too murky. It's like, okay, we know that the established IP does well. People like to go and see things that they are familiar with. But that doesn't mean that every single established movie has the kind of audience appeal to become kind of, a sequel and then a trequel or whatever. It's just, like, why are we doing this?
And I agree with you. And the thing is, my interest in this Tron threequel, it was a roller coaster. I started off absolutely not interested because they announced the director. It's a Disney yes man. He's just done lots of Disney. He did the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean. He does a lot of stuff for Disney. So it wasn't like some innovative director like, oh my God, they've got Denis Villeneuve or something. It was just a Disney kind of guy. And then they announced that it was Jared Leto starring, and I was like, Jared Leto doesn't particularly appeal to me as a lead actor. I don't get his appeal. Yeah. The thing is, when I've asked around at like a teacher at film school, some of the students who are going to see it, they're like, I'm looking forward to seeing the film, but I really don't like Jared Leto. So I am curious as to who are Jared Leto fans and why is he in the lead. So, and then I got a bit excited because I saw the trailer and the visuals looked good, the visuals and the sound, but I kind of need a bit of something in the story. And then I started hearing the reviews and it's absolutely not connected to the two films. So, because just to spell something out here for people who haven't seen Tron, the title of the film Tron, that's a character in the original film, a character called Tron, right? So you call the film Tron. He's got like a cameo in Tron Legacy. He's not even mentioned in the 3rd Tron film that is titled after a character. So like, what? You're making a Tron film. It's like calling the film, I don't know, like Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's not in it. It's like, so they make it. So the problem is there is an inbuilt fan base. Like I would have gone to see it, but like at least have Tron in it. At least like make it connect. Give me something here, just a tiny bit. Cillian Murphy was in Tron Legacy in a tiny cameo. The idea being that he would be a bigger character in the 3rd film. That sounds interesting. No.
Yeah. Oh,
nah.
gosh. And it's a shame because, it is a good cast. Okay, Jared Leto aside, Greta Lee, Jodie Turner-Smith, Gillian Anderson, a quick cameo from Jeff Bridges. I mean, with this list of names, you're starting to see why it was like a $200 million budget. And so far, okay, as I mentioned, we recorded this on Sunday. I think we're at 14 million worldwide. So,
ouch.
Yeah,
ouch.
good luck to them. Good luck to them. Okay, so moving on to other flops. I want. It's terrible. This is bad, guys. I hate that we're being so negative and it's all bad news. But we're going to move to some better news towards the end. But just I have to mention the movie Him because I went to see that last week. Right. Yeah, I went to a press screening of this because, hey, press screening, I'd heard it wasn't very good, but I was like open to being wrong, you know.
How bad can it be?
Well, quite. And it's a Monkey Paw production, so you probably know that's Jordan Peele's production company. So, you know, there's good names behind this. But it was directed by Justin Tipping, and it is a movie. It's sort of I think it has been marketed as a sports horror. And Tyreek Withers plays a young sports star or a star on the rise in American football. And he is kind of taken under the wing of Marlon Wayans, who plays a sports star who's kind of on the way out. And he kind of welcomes him to come to his compound to train with him so that he can become good enough to join this sports team. Now,
okay, so far, you know, that's a promising premise. You know,
I mean, that is a premise that I kind of gathered, but like I actually found slightly unclear as to. I didn't understand, like, various points in the film, I'm confused about what's going on. And honestly, it just felt like a collection of music videos. Like,
right, so very stylized.
Yeah, there were these stylized scenes, but it was like, there wasn't like a clear narrative arc through it. Julia Fox pops up and she's fantastic. I'm always happy to see her on screen. She brings a bit of like campness to proceedings. It's always a pleasure, but it didn't really make any sense to me. There was no kind of internal logic. It was really incoherent. Very good acting, I have to say. All of the cast were great, but I just was like, what is the story? And I got the feeling in the audience, because, you know, it's people who are coming in with goodwill. And people were
press screenings. You're gonna
people are kind of excited and they're wanting it to be good. And there was a lot of like chuckles and like good vibes at the start. And as the film progressed, it got quieter and quieter. And by the time I left the screening, someone grabbed me to ask if I would do a quick interview about my thoughts on the film, and I said, they're not good, so I don't think you want to hear them. I had to say that because what am I mean...
Put that on the poster.
Literally. And it's such a shame. And so, but having said that, I mean, okay, this isn't amazing, but it had a $27 million budget. So it's not a big budget. And in its opening weekend, it took $26 million. And okay, obviously we've got to take in marketing, etc. So, but I was like, compared to Tron, that's actually not bad, you know? So yeah, they're smart to keep the budget small. That's the thing. You've got to keep that budget low because you can't risk it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we seem to now be in the era of, you know, what's flopping the least, you know, the least amount of flop that's acceptable to a company. So keep, I mean, that is good because, to be honest, it'll probably make its money back by on-demand streaming, all that kind of stuff. You know, I think if it's kind of made 26 and it makes 50% next weekend, although if the word of mouth's terrible, it will drop off heavily.
Honestly, I heard people coming out of the cinema who'd been very excited talking in a very unimpressed way. So I think the word of mouth could hurt it, if I'm honest. But we'll see. Yeah, out of these, it's probably the least bad. I mean,
least bad flop.
Let's talk quickly about The Smashing Machine. I'm very sad because I was planning to see that this week, guys, to talk I could talk with a bit more information at hand. But unfortunately, you might hear in my voice, I've been a bit poorly, so I didn't make it to cinema. But this is Ben Safdie's movie. We've mentioned it before. Dwayne Johnson's bid for the Oscar. Bit of a flop, right, James?
Yeah, bit of a flop. And you know, what kind of researching this as well, I hadn't clocked that the budget was 50 million. It's like, that sounds like The Rock is still going, yeah, I want to do a small independent film, but I still want $25 million, please.
Yeah.
You know, that it felt, you know, that could, because let's have a look, it's an A24 film, so they don't make film things regularly in this budget space. In fact, I think, was it called, what was the film
Civil
with Kirsten
War.
Dunst in? Civil War.
Yeah.
That was 50 million. million,
Yeah.
and that had a civil war in it. You know, that was 50 million on the
That
screen.
had conflict in it. That costs money, guys.
Yeah, right. So, you know, but there was definitely, it felt like there was money on screen there, whereas this, I haven't seen it, but the clips I've seen and what I know of the story, where'd that 50 million go? And if it got me a bit cross, because like Rock, if you are going to reinvent your career by doing a small independent film, then the rule is you take a massive pay cut. That's the rule. That's like the unwritten rule, of course, but that's how you do it, you know. So you don't burden a small film with a huge budget, which it can't, you know.
Yes, but you know what? He's business first. This is why I'm sorry to be like negative, but I think he's a very, very cynical mover.
He's a shrewd businessman. Yeah,
he's exactly. He's a shrewd businessman, and yes, he wanted to try and rebrand himself as an indie darling, but at the same time, he still wants to make bank. But yes, from what I've seen of this movie, it's about Ultimate Fighting Champion. Is that what it's called? The Ultimate Fighting Champion?
UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Yeah, UFC. He plays a fighter. Like, we need a couple of sets in the ring, a couple of scenes at home. It's not going to cost that much. Maybe a little bit of CGI with the fighting, but come on. And yeah, it was interesting because Civil War was definitely marketed as, this is A24 moving into bigger budget because it's a film. It's a production company known for doing great stories, but indie movies on a smaller budget. This is it's foray into that bigger arena. And now it's done the same thing, but with a film that's like definitely like a kind of a smaller story, smaller movie, small plot. Very strange.
It should have been. He should have taken a much smaller cut, and he should have had a bigger percentage of the box office receipts, because then that would have he would have much more of a financial incentive to, I don't know, really make this film. But the other thing that I'm reading is that the core audience that went to see it were young males, right? Even though it was marketed as more as like a cine, I'm trying to think of that, a cinephile kind of film. You know, it's a slightly more art house fare, and actually the people who turned up for it were probably, it sounds like, traditional rock fans expecting a bit more like rock style action. So they think there was a disconnect between audience expectation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that, you know, this is a film about UFC and it's got The Rock in it. So clearly this should appeal to young men. Surely that would be the target market, and that would make sense. And like, why not, you know, lean into that? But actually the story isn't that kind of story. It's, I think, more of a feels Oscar story, and actually, you know, has had good reviews. You know, the critics have liked this movie. Benny Safdie, who directed it, won the Best Director prize at the Venice Film Festival. So it's been quite well received. So there's that at least. But
it's just a mismatch between, I think,
yeah,
it's a thing that we kind of, I think we might go into more detail maybe in the future, but there's just a bit of a mismatch between what the audience are expecting and what they keep getting given. Or there's just a mismatch between the films, because like I say, the film isn't necessarily bad, critically well received, but it was trying to be one thing, but it was being visited by another audience who their expectations were completely different from what they got. So, yeah.
So then the word of mouth is not going to be great, because they're going to come out and go, oh, it wasn't not what I was expecting. I wouldn't recommend it. So it's going to struggle. I mean, now where we're at with it, it's made 10 million at the box office, and as we said, a $50 million budget. So
it's gonna struggle.
That's
yeah.
It's
not gonna. It's going to. But talking about legs and word of mouth is the little film that could is that One Battle After Another. It's a flop financially. We can't skirt around that. But it's not like most flops. It's unlike any flop I've ever seen, actually, as far as me following these things, let's just say. I'm sure you could pull out history, but the past few years I've been following how films do financially, and it's unlike any other film, because it took just shy of 50 million worldwide, did One Battle After Another in its first weekend, which, you know, for a $150 million-ish film, not a great start. And what historically happens, and by the way, I'm going to calculate this using the worldwide box office. Once you look into this stuff, you realize it's all very American-centric, but I'm going to make the whole amount of money. So $50 million just shy of weekend one. What historically happens is if it's just a regular drop-off, it's about 50% drop-off. That's regular. And then if it's a flop, anything higher than 50. So like the Marvel films at the moment, they're dropping off by 60%, 65%, right? So when you're in a proper flop, you're talking a bigger drop off, and then essentially you get that drop off every weekend. So it's diminishing returns each weekend. But what happened one battle after another? It made 48 million weekend one. It made a total of 101 million by weekend two. So it actually ever so slightly went up. It didn't have any percent drop off, which is, I've never heard of that. So a worldwide overall total didn't drop off. And this, I just checked this morning, it's like 125 million. So it's had a 50% drop on its third weekend. So it's legging out incredibly well. And you've got to remember, by the third weekend, it's in much fewer screens. So what that means is each screen that it's in is taking a lot more money than usual for it to even get 25 million. So it's going to struggle to break even, but China hasn't opened yet. There's other markets. So this is definitely a slow burn, and it could maybe eke its way there. But it's certainly not a box office smash, and it'll be struggling to break even.
I mean, yeah, I think that actually Taylor Swift having her album release party screening event the weekend after, I think that actually helped One Battle After Another, because
oh yeah, how so?
Because let's be honest, like the Taylor Swift audience is probably quite a different audience to the One Battle After Another audience. Looking at what's on offer at the cinema, your options are this film that has had rave reviews and people are saying is great, even if it's, maybe wouldn't have been your like a must see thing that when you heard about it. But if you're not into Taylor Swift, let's be honest, actually, she is, of course, the biggest pop star in the world, but actually diehard fans who want to go and see her show, that's actually a minority of the cinema going audience, right? Like it's a minority that's going to spend money and will go, but out of everyone else. And then the other options we had were Tron, Ares, and him, and the Smashing Machine. Of course you're going to go and want to see One Battle After Another because we've heard it's a spectacle. If you're going to go to cinema, that's probably what you're going to choose instead. The word of mouth has been really great with this movie. So I think that's good. But I mean, it is a bit of a shame because ultimately the budget for One Battle After Another was just too high. Like, the numbers don't add up. As much as I love Paul Thomas Anderson, he should never have been given a budget this big. The film didn't actually need it, I don't think. And it's a shame because it looks bad on paper. But you're right. I think over the whole lifetime of this film, it will break even and then go into the green. I think it will. But it's just going to take a little bit of time. But the legs are there, and I think it will smash it during awards season, and that will keep the excitement going. And yeah,
I mean, see, I'm like you say you didn't need 150 million. I agree with you. You could have scaled down some of the set pieces, got rid of the extras. But I'll be honest with you, just as purely selfishly as a cinema viewer, I love that it has a bit of scale. I love that. You're right. It didn't. You could have made a version on half the budget, but I kind of like that it isn't. It has, I was looking into it.
I'm not talking about from an artistic or visual as an audience. I'm just talking about from the cold hard cash, the financial point of view. Like it's crazy that they would give this much money to this movie. But
Michael DeLuca, who's the current one of the heads of Warner Brothers, he actually was the exec producer on Boogie Nights and on Magnolia. So he's been there at the very start of Paul Thomas Anderson's career. And my feeling of this, with no hard evidence, is more that I think everybody going into it knew that it wasn't going to be a smash. I mean, like, you just look at Paul Thomas Anderson's box office, there's no way you would give him that. I think Michael DeLuca was like, listen, it's time, Paul Thomas Anderson. He's worked on his films and they've not been hits. So to give that guy 10, 20 years later down the line a bigger budget, I think, you're doing it more for giving it to the good of cinema. Plus, they've got bank with all their terrible movies with Minecraft and bloody hell, Superman. But I think this is the one that's the award season's darling. So they're like, right, they haven't even made money, have they? Jesus Christ.
No, I mean, I love that as an idea, but I don't think anyone in Hollywood operates just out of the goodness of their heart. They were hoping, they were very naive and were hoping that this is going to be the movie because of Leonardo DiCaprio's involvement. This is going to be the one that kind of moves Paul Thomas Anderson into the Tarantino league where he does really belong, and like artistically as a director, he certainly does. But I think his kind of brand of black comedy mixed with it's kind of like drama, black comedy, like offbeat characterization. I think it's quite hard to market, really. And you either love it or you don't. And so there's just not been that same cut through that Tarantino's more like brash, over the top characters have had. So, but it's still, look, great movie. And I'm sure ultimately, I think it will like kind of work out for him.
Yeah. I was going to say as well, I just think it's really tough in America right now, because as soon as you have a film that even slightly is to be in is set in either the left or the right of politics at all, it's going to discourage the other half. And, so I've seen that this film branded as left wokeist leftist Antifa propaganda. I'm like, to me, that blows my mind. But, once it's branded by the other side, that's half your audience who are probably not going to go, or just not that interested. And I think that's not helping. I just think like that's why Christopher Nolan's last film and his next film, they're set in the past. Just set them in the past and you get them out of current day politics. And I think that didn't help, basically, right now.
I hadn't really thought about that, what with the bubble I'm in online, but yeah, you're probably right. That probably is a big part of it as well.
I do like, I don't really dip into right wing politics, but I do dip into some YouTubers, their reviews, just to see how things are going down, and that one, I was like, okay, yeah, that's been absolutely labelled,
when it's really not that at all.
No, I know, but yeah.
This is not a film that makes you think, great, I'm going to join Antifa.
No, absolutely not. But then again, if the film was the same plot, but it was set in like a right-leaning kind of cell or group, we probably wouldn't want to watch it so much, I'd probably go see it because it's Paul Thomas Anderson.
I was going to say, I'm all in. I am into it for sure.
Yeah, I know. But that's also probably why it's doing much better worldwide than it is in America, actually. So it's making most of its money outside of the US.
Yeah, I think that's true, because actually the film is, I don't think that it's a perfect film, and from that kind of the political aspect of it is like, I don't know if it always works totally, but it's very nuanced, and I think that doesn't really work very well in the US right now.
Yeah,
so, I think
because the whole point is, it's not like the left are the good guys and they win at the end. It just happens to be set in this world. So yeah.
But I wanted to quickly, the film I did manage to see before I got struck down with this lurgy was Harris Dickinson's directorial debut, Urchin.
Hi guys, I'm sorry to ask, I was wondering if you've got any spare change?
For how long was you sleeping in the streets?
5 years.
You're going to be just fine. Try it now.
Going to be just fine.
Young male with previous convictions, history of violence. Do you have any family at all? Parents around?
It's complicated.
Your universe is expanding.
I was actually just looking for some work.
Any questions?
Do we get given lunch?
You don't get lunch. You bring your lunch.
I didn't bring lunch.
This segment was going to be talking about a lot of flops, so I wanted to kind of end on a slightly like higher note of going a different direction. This is a very small indie film. I think less than 10 million. I mean, it's not tiny. Let's be honest. But
these days, that's probably these days the least you can make a film for, where everybody gets paid what they're meant to get paid. It used to be in the 90s. It was 3 million, but that's the 90s. So I reckon 10 million is now.
Yeah, I really love this movie. It was really, really wonderful. It's a drama about kind of looking at the struggles of addiction and homelessness, which does sound like kind of heavy, but it's not. It's definitely like, I wouldn't say this is a film you can watch like, it's not like a laugh a minute. I'm not rushing to watch it like when I'm ill, like cozy on a Sunday. But
it's not making it into the comfort list then.
Yeah, but I was really, really impressed by Harris Dickinson's directing. Very good casting. Frank Delane plays the lead character, Mike, and it just like the script is so excellent because it really does definitely captures the kind of cyclical nature of homelessness and addiction, the way you kind of may move out of it for a bit, but then fall back into it ultimately. And that main character, he's charming and sympathetic and likable, but he is definitely not like an angel and a victim. And like, it's not like he's like a pure of heart person who's just like the victim of circumstance. Like he makes bad choices a lot. And I think it captures that, but it also captures the like deep dysfunction of the system that's there to kind of like, you know, the housing system and the system that's there to help people coming out of prison. It clearly is a very, very well researched film, but it's not just like a straight up realist drama. There are some kind of surreal moments too. It's really good. I would really recommend it if you kind of want to see something that genuinely is like worth the price of admission and isn't cynically made just to make a buck. You know, this is like a very beautifully crafted film, and I was really impressed that like I looked into it because I was like, Harris Dickinson, this like rising star baby girl actor that we're all like, oh, what's he going to be in next? Like, how did he come to make this film? But actually, he's been directing since he was a kid. He was like making skate videos when he was a child, and like kind of focused on acting for a while, and then came back to this and like was working on the script for a long time, and it just sort of organically happened.
So a real passion project from everything I can understand from what you said, you know, like not a non-cynical, something that he's wanted to get made, something that's made with a lot of love and passion.
Yeah, and you know, a very honest, I think, representation of this, but it's not like an issues movie where he's trying to be some kind of savior, like shedding a light. It's not mawkish. It doesn't make you cringe. It's just like feels heartening and honest and beautifully filmed. Now, there have been some developments in Bond world, and we simply must discuss them. So, James, where do you want to start?
Okay, let's start with the who currently owns James Bond, because have we discussed James Bond on here before? I feel like
I think we have, but guys, bear with us. Let's just set the scene. For safety's sake, set the scene for me. Tell me what's happening, James. I like to be reminded.
I'll give you the bullet points just to get us to the present day. So the James Bond franchise, it's one of the most enduring and I think possibly the longest running franchise in cinema history.
Certainly in British cinema history, I would say.
Yeah, although I can't think of anything else that's been going since the 60s. But anyway, yeah, so the thing about it is it's essentially a family business. It's not owned by it wasn't owned by a megacorp. It was owned by Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman to begin with. Harry Saltzman, after a few films, he got into gambling debt and he had to sell his half to kind of get financially stable. So the Broccoli family, they own 50% because Harry Saltzman didn't sell his 50% to the Broccoli family. He sold it to whoever because he fell out with the Broccoli. So the annoying thing is for the Broccoli family, they've always owned 50% of Bond, but the other 50% has been bought and sold by, guess what? Megacorps, right? So Sony Pictures had it for a while. I think MGM, and then they were bought by Sony. But the point is, Cubby Broccoli, his family have always been involved with it. Like that's since the genesis. Because, and I love this quote from Cubby Broccoli, he told his daughter, who now, Barbara Broccoli, who now runs it with her stepbrother, Michael G. Wilson, Cubby Broccoli said to her, he said, never let temporary people make permanent decisions. And that means don't let people who, you know, these big companies, people leave all the time. So don't let an exec go in and say, let's get rid of James Bond's Aston Martin. And then he goes on to another job because he doesn't care. He's just looking for his next bigger paycheck and bigger bonuses. And they've now made a decision that's like permanently affected the franchise. And I think that's excellent advice. So in the 50% of getting bought and sold, a couple of years ago, Amazon bought it. I think they bought it off Sony Pictures. So now Amazon, the megacorp, and basically Jennifer Salke, who's like the exec of Amazon Studios, I think she's just left. She clashed with Barbara Broccoli over what to do with Bond. So when they're clashing, when they're not agreeing, nothing gets made because the Broccoli's, even though they're only 50%, they have final decision on all creative choices with Bond. That's just in the contract. And unfortunately, what's happened is that Amazon came out with a big checkbook and they bought out the 50% of the Bond. So now Amazon, for the first time in history, one company, a big corporation, now fully owns James Bond. So there's not this family custodians just looking after Bond. So that brings us to today, just to get us up to speed. So with trepidation, I mean, it's Amazon, right? So all those Bond fans are like, okay, what's next then? Okay, fine. I want to know director, really. Before I want to know the Bond, I want to know the director and the writer. Director, Denis Villeneuve. Excellent choice. Like after Christopher Nolan, I would say for this kind of big blockbuster, you know, that made me comfortable. And the other thing was like, please, for the love of God, not Purvis and Wade, because even though we've had reinventions of Bond over the decades, ever since Bond came back in the 90s with Pierce Brosnan, it's the same. it's the same writing duo write all these goddamn Bond films. So we say, oh, it's a new Bond, it's Daniel Craig. It's not really, because it's the same writers writing the same stuff. So if you say you don't like the Bond franchise, possibly half of it's because it's the same bloody script writers making the same stuff.
And you don't like the scripts of, because I mean, because okay, the general kind of consensus, right, is that Pierce Brosnan was a dark period for Bond. That was not great. And then we moved into Daniel Craig and it was, amazing. It's great. But the scripts continued to be poor in my
opinion, yes. And the one that's considered a really good one of recent years, Skyfall, there was a writer's strike in around that time. So what it gave them was another 6 months to work on the script. So they spent way more time than they ever had done with Sam Mendes, by the way, as well. So they just it bought them unexpectedly a load of time, and Sam Mendes got really involved. And then you go to Spectre, which is the follow-up, and that's back to Purvis and Wade, back to their old tricks. And it's like, you can see the quality drop off. So I'm not blaming it all on them. Sorry, I feel a bit, but look, in the band community, it's like, just let some other writers have a go, please. I think the Broccoli's like them because they were a family, and once you get in there with the Broccoli's, you're kind of in there for life.
But I mean, it's not like these films did very, very well. It's not like so honestly, it's like, well, why change what's not broken? You know, these films were a huge success.
I know, sorry, yeah, I know. You've outed me as like one of these fans who can never be pleased, okay?
I mean, look, I saw the last couple of Bonds and was like, every time I went to see them, I was like, why do I do this to myself? This is where I don't think I'm a very patriotic person, but clearly it comes through with my viewing of Bond, because I forget that I don't like these movies. The scripts, in my opinion, are very poor. The dialogue is terrible.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just my problem because I don't like action movies. But you agree that the scripts are questionable.
100% agree with you, Lillian. To me, it's the thing that's been holding I want to see another set of script writers have a go at it, because I just think every time I see a modern Bond, and by modern Bond I mean from the mid-90s when it came out with Pierce Brosnan, every time, possibly apart from Skyfall, I've just thought this should have been much better, much classier, much, you know.
Okay, well then that brings us to the writer that's been announced. What do you make of Stephen Knight?
I think it's a solid choice, really. I don't really follow much of his work, but, you know, he did Peaky Blinders, which is a huge success, and he's a self-confessed Bond fan, as is Denis Villeneuve, so all the signs are positive. That's what I want. I want someone who's passionate about the franchise. I know now, yes. I feel like you have thoughts on Stephen Knight.
Well, no, I don't want to be too negative. I mean, it's incredible to be a scriptwriter. I can only imagine. This...
Come on, get to the dirt, get to
and
the
I've
tea,
never
Lily.
seen Peaky Blinders. I hear that it's fantastic, but I saw Maria last year, the Angelina Jolie starring biopic about Maria Callas,
Maria Callas.
Yeah, Maria. Yes, she's a opera singer who's very famous in Italy, one of the most famous. Anyway, he wrote the script for that film, and I thought it was honestly a pretty terrible movie. I was bored, senseless, and after two-thirds roughly, I was like, I cannot do this anymore, and left. So, but I don't know, that may well just be that, like, you know, he'd been steered in a certain way by the director, you know, who knows? So I'm not writing him off completely. It just, that made me slightly nervous when I saw that he was the screenwriter behind that. But everyone says Peaky Blinders is great, and it's great that he loves Bond. I feel like it's all about knowing the material, right? And maybe he just wasn't as familiar with the Maria Callas story or something.
Maybe, you know, and maybe unlike, you know, with Maria Callas, I bet you can't find any press interviews going, I've been a Maria Callas fan since I was a child, you know, like, you know, what I'm trying to say is that he definitely has the passion for Bond, and that's what you want from the people who are going to try and relaunch Bond yet again. But yes, sorry, but that's the backstory now to get us to the thing that's in the news. If you're still with us, hello. Right, hang on, sorry. This is how my brain works. So this thing came up on Instagram that thumbnails for the films, I think, when you select them on Amazon Prime, have now been doctored to remove the iconic Walther PPK from James Bond's hands.
That's a gun, guys, for those who don't know.
Sorry, yes, it's the iconic gun, a Walther
I wouldn't have
PPK.
known if we hadn't have already discussed this prior.
I'm
like, is that a puppy? Is that a dog?
It's the smaller version of the Walther PP apparently, and it's
a cute little handheld gun. If we can describe guns as cute, which I'm not sure we can.
Tiny little cute little gun, yeah, and it was introduced in the 5th novel in Doctor No, and it was from the very first film. It's always been a Walther PPK. Occasionally changed it up, but usually that's it. So it's part and parcel of the image of Bond and of him as a spy. It's his tool, And then, so in these thumbnails, they've just photoshopped them out, So literally, you have a hand that looks like it should be holding something, but it's empty. So you have an awkward hand, and then you have James Bond. And what's funny is Sean Connery without that gun has a very doesn't look like a killer in that pose, but. They all look awkward, and then Roger Moore's hands are by his side. In the original one, he's got his hand across his chest with a gun, so they just look really bad. Now, I can understand why have we got rid of them, because gun violence is bad. We don't want to glamorize guns. I get it. I get that, but not like this. Please, not like this. Just not like this.
Well, the internet went crazy about this, and so promptly Amazon changed them back. So now if you go on Amazon, the thumbnails have returned to with gun. So the guns are back, baby. Thank God for that. But okay, so what do you think this says about Amazon's treatment of Bond? Why are you concerned? I'm assuming you're concerned, James. I'm projecting. Are you concerned? Does this make you concerned?
It makes me a little concerned. I think Denis Villeneuve wouldn't have signed up if he doesn't have a lot of things in his contract saying he gets it. You're not going to fuck around with my take on Bond. I suspect there's got to be, for him to have taken it on, there's got to be certain limits there. But this is what happens when Amazon are just going through their checks and balances. Like, whoa, we can't have this guy with a gun on our bullet points. It's like, what I'm trying to say is, where are the people just protecting the character? The Broccoli's have gone now. They've been bought out, so it's now part of the machine. The machine is saying, hey, we can't have guns on this, whereas someone's saying, it's an iconic part of the character. You either choose a completely different shot that doesn't have a gun in, but let's not just Photoshop out the gun. That it looks cheap, doesn't look good. It's not selling the character. The whole point of it is a spy who kills people, and now you've just removed it. There's a lot of things where it didn't really make sense as an artistic decision. It just felt like somebody's like, we can't have guns on a thumbnail, and then okay, we'll just scrub them out. There you go.
Yes,
it just feels a bit cheap.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I kind of, on the one hand, I kind of have sympathy with it because yes, like gun violence in America in particular is like, obviously a huge issue. Do we want to glamorize guns? But then I'm like, well, Bond does glamorize guns.
I know.
That is that's what he does, and has done since the 60s, as we know. Well, so in that case, why did you buy the franchise? Yeah. So it's kind of like it is a somewhat cynical and very, heavy-handed and embarrassing way of handling it. Because you're right, you could just use a different picture. I mean, Bond is inherently problematic, really, if we want to get really woke about it. He glamorizes guns. He is a misogynist who treats women like
misogynist dinosaur, as M calls him in GoldenEye, I think. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and he treats women as hobbies. So, but so it's kind of like you either accept that and don't worry, really, or you shouldn't have bought the brand in the first place. Like, what do you want? You can't. So yeah, it's a little concerning because it does suggest that perhaps the new Bond will be diluted.
Yeah, and again, it's the other thing of like, who are you making it for then? Who are this audience of new Bond fans who are happy that you've removed everything that makes it Bond? That means you're potentially going to put off other audience, So there's just a whole lot of that. But I am fairly confident that Denis Villeneuve would have had something a bit sewn up as far as like he gets to choose this stuff. And I'm hoping this is just and I'm hoping the pushback also shows that people, even if they may be misguided, I mean, I care because it's just like, don't buy Bond and then just get rid of the guns like that. Just give him a bit of respect,
And yeah, if anyone
as a character, as a fictional character, sorry, I'm not trying to, I'm just saying that's part and parcel of what the character is. Don't piss about with it.
And look, I think Denis Villeneuve is a great choice because, as we've seen with Dune, he's very good at adapting something and creating this incredible action spectacle and making it look very chic, very contemporary.
And, and being a bit smart with it as well,
Exactly, yeah. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, and he's good at casting, so I'm excited to see who the new Bond will be. It's been confirmed that it will be a kind of unknown actor, all these rumours about whether it's going to be bloody, Tom Hardy. It's never going to be someone who's like very well known, so I'm excited.
I don't know if that's a smoke screen. I'll be honest with you, like sometimes that can be a smoke screen. I think an unknown is the way to go, but sometimes they say that just to kind of,
No, I think I think the whole thing with Bond is that every well-known actor is kind of paraded as a potential because that makes people talk about it. It keeps the talk alive. But a well-known actor has never been cast as Bond and never will be, because you don't want the actor to be bigger than Bond. You want Bond to make him the star and then him feel indebted to it. There's no way. They're not going to waste money on a big name established actor. They'll go for, I reckon it will be someone a bit younger than Daniel Craig was. We'll go like early 30s. I mean, Harris Dickinson would have been great, I have to say, to talk about him again.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, it'll probably be someone less known than him even, I imagine. But who knows? We'll see. It's exciting. We'll be coming back to this for sure.
You heard it here first. If that's the case, he's not a bad shout.
Thank you. I'm sure I've read that somewhere. I can't take that.
Oh my God. Is this going to be another time where you go see the Bond because we're going to review it and then at the end you're like, I don't know why I keep doing this. But
probably.
I think
possibly.
there's more of a reason this time.
Yeah. I mean,
at least interesting director, relaunch, let's see what's happening.
Yeah, and you can never lose hope in life. When you lose hope, you lose all chance. So I will always be optimistic and I will always go with the best hope in my heart that it will be good. And yes, maybe I'll be disappointed again, but who knows? We'll see.
Who knows? So that'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if they managed to make a Bond that actually you enjoyed. That would be. I think that's what they're aiming for, though. I think they want to make sure that So I want that too.
Yeah, I want it to be like June, honestly. I want it to be epic and sprawling and exciting and chic looking to the point of almost being a bit dull because it's so tasteful. That's what I want from this Bond.
That's exactly what I want too. That's exactly it as well.
Okay,
exactly
great. And that would be the sweet spot between people who have this long personal relationship with Bond. You grew up watching Bond and I feel like, you're kind of the target market, right? Like a man, basically. A male.
A man.
and someone who has a very patchy, not fully informed relationship with Bond who doesn't particularly like action movies. If we can find something in the middle of the two that will draw us both in, then great. Then they're on to a winner, and congratulations to Amazon. You've finally done a good job on something.
Please.
All right, so let's finish up with a cinema recommendation.
Well, so the current recommendation is one that's, I moved away from London several years ago, and I'm very happy in Manchester. It's got most things I need here, but God damn it, this recommendation we have here, it's a little brand new grindhouse cinema bar and video shop called The Nickel. Mm-hmm. If I was living in London now, I would have definitely visited that. That looks right up my street.
Yeah, absolutely. So it opened this summer on Clerkenwell Road, and I don't think there are any other horror speciality cinemas in London as far as I know. This is quite a kind of consciously retro offering. But it's amazing. I was looking at the list of films that they've got coming up, and it's truly these are low budget, niche, international movies from every era. The thing that caught my eye, which unfortunately has passed, but I just wanted to mention it to kind of give you a flavour of what you can expect there. Last week they had a screening of Babe, Pig in the City, which is apparently considered too dark for children when it was released, which actually makes sense to me, but I loved this movie. I watched it as a child I watched it in the cinema when it came out. And actually, I do remember being a little bit unsettled by it because it is darker than the first one. But they showed this last week, and the screening was followed by an animal-themed karaoke night. So
see, that sounds like a fun time.
A fun time and very creative, It's not just showing movies at the cinema. They do something with it.
And they also a lot of them are shown off digital, but there are often 60mm screenings. They've got a 60mm projector that'll lace up. I think they also have a smaller room for like 8 people or something that shows VHSs, so you can even screen VHS on a tall TV. So it sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm really glad it's opened up, and it does seem to be doing very well. Like the pictures I see on social media seems to be there's people in a lot of the screenings that they show there. So I'm glad it seems to be doing well.
Yeah. I haven't yet been, I have to say. So this is a slightly uninformed recommendation. We're just excited about what's listed there, but I'm definitely going to make my way there soon. But I saw that they're showing the Wicker Man, the 70s, the original Wicker Man, around Halloween. And I said to Leo, my husband, let's go see this, because he hadn't heard of this film, and it's like the quintessential British horror film, I think, right? So I was like, you have to see this to understand the heritage that you've married into. But unfortunately, it's already sold out, because I think it is quite a small theatre. And, it's probably the most well-known movie that they have coming up, I would say. All the others are like a bit more niche I hadn't heard of. There was one that caught my eye, a Japanese indie horror called 964 Pinocchio, about a memory-wiped and defective cyborg sex slave who is tossed onto the streets and taken in by a homeless woman while his corporate creators hunt him down. I mean, this is the kind of thing you get to
concept.
see. Yeah, high concept, low budget horror movies. What more can you want? The other one I have to mention to you, James, is that they're doing, I think it's the 50th anniversary of Salo this year.
Oh, no.
And they're doing a screening, and Leo
do not go.
is keen to go. Okay, I wanted to talk to you about this. You don't think I should go? Can you just give a vague, for anyone listening who doesn't know what it is, just briefly explain?
Oh my God. It's like set in the Second World War in like Italy under fascism, from what I understand. And a bunch of like in a mansion, some very rich Italian people kind of round up some of the villagers, and they bring them into their mansion where they subject them to rape and torture at the end.
And it's called Salo, or 100 Days of Sodom.
100 Days of Sodom, yeah. It's based on a Marquis de Sade kind of story, but obviously put into more contemporary times. But it's like, it is a masterpiece. Don't go see it. Do not go see it. You will be scarred, right? Don't go see it. Like, do not yes, it is a masterpiece of what it does, but don't go see it ever. You'll never be able to unwipe those images from your mind. I saw it 20 plus years ago, and I try not to talk about it too much because I don't want to encourage people to go, James said it. Oh, don't go see it. I'll go see it. No, I can't win.
James mentioned it before and said a similar thing to what he just said now. And then subsequently I said, shall we talk about it for the podcast? And he was like, absolutely not, because you must not see this movie. We're not going to talk about it. No way. But, okay, the fact that it's Italian is also another thing, because I'm like, I should take Leo to see Wicker Man, he should take me to see Salo, then we'll both see the horror movies of our cultures.
But Salo's not a horror film, it's a drama that's horrific.
It's torturous, rapey, disgusting, horrific.
It's just like
and imagine seeing it in a cinema where you can't look away. Like, you can't just turn it off, you can't shut your laptop. Yeah, and the
cinema I went to see in Manchester, like, I would say about a third of the audience walked out during the film. I stayed to the end because, like, I'm...
The more you say I'm such a masochist, I really want to go see it now. Yeah. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Guys, I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted. Okay. I don't know if you are too. Maybe I'll see you there. But The Nickel, cinema in Clerkenwell in London. Strong recommendation. If you like horror and it's spooky season, Halloween's coming up, see what's out there. Go have a look. They also do these kind of mystery nights where there's a surprise screening. That always intrigues me. Definitely check it out. And if you have any recommendations of cinemas you want us to shout out on the show, please do let us know. We want to spotlight as many indie cinemas and kind of indie cinema events that are going on as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. There's often some immersive events happening. Anything you've heard of, let us know. We try and keep our ears to the ground, but if you can help us out, that would be much appreciated. And if you can find your way to giving us a 5-star review or a like, it all helps get the podcast out to other people.
Absolutely. So thanks, everyone, and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Groovy Movies is produced and edited by us, Lily Austin and James Brailsford. And James also produced the theme music.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Groovy Movies Pod, or email us groovymoviespod@gmail.com.
For more information about the films discussed, check out the show notes.